Hey, it's Don Duran with NSI Solutions. You may know us as the inventors of the original seam phantom back in 2008. Now, the seam phantom is a system for dressing perfect edges on granite or stone slab material so you can make perfect seams. Now, last August, we introduced Seam Phantom 2.0 with many improvements and a few options which have confused customers and distributors, and we'd like to just give you a quick explanation of those now to help them make a selection. First, they both use the new Ultra Guide, which is an improved guide, and we've talked about that in a separate video. Now, like always, different power supplies, you need to know if you want to use air, and this is your standard air polisher from Granite Shop. Up to 2 1/8 diameter will work on a seam phantom. Or do you want to use electric? So air or electric. Now, if you're going to use electric, you need to know which electric grinder you want to run. This is the classic Makita that everyone's used forever. There is a Milwaukee option, there's a Metabo option, there's an alternate Makita option that was specifically made for Canada but is usable in the United States. All of the grinder model numbers are available on our website. So air or electric, if you're going electric, which grinder, and then after that, pick light or deluxe. Now, this is a light and this is a deluxe. The build quality and parts are almost identical. The light works like an original seam phantom, and the deluxe has this unique clamping mechanism, which we'll show you how to use here in a minute. Now, there is another version that's not very popular in the United States. It uses a PW 5001C Makita polisher, so an electric center water feed polisher. And again, you can get it in either a light or a deluxe. That's much more popular in Europe, but we do sell a few in the United States. Here I have a 46-inch Ultra Guide clamped to a scrap of stone. Now, I've set the location on the Ultra Guide here with these gauge blocks to be evenly spaced or spaced back from the edge. The light, as I mentioned, works just like the original seam phantom. The operator holds it in place by basically pinching it between the guide and the knob, and then you run it from behind like this, grinding and adjusting the depth and grinding. The deluxe is a little simpler to use. It has this clamping mechanism that I mentioned before that holds it to the guide. And now that's clamped on the guide and it can't fall off. You tend to run this more from the side, pushing and pulling it back and forth like this and adjusting in and out here. When you let go, it stays there, which really simplifies using it, especially for less experienced fabricators. So one of the things we realized is while there's a lot of video on YouTube using the original seam phantom, which is very similar to the light, there's almost no video of using the deluxe. So last week we got a call from a local fabricator friend of ours named Jesse. Jesse's a longtime seam phantom owner. He's got serial number 50, which we made all the way back in 2009. So he knows all about this stuff, but he did not have a 92-inch guide. Jesse needed to do a 6.5-foot seam in a very hard quartzite material to make a very large island. Now, he had used shorter guides to make long seams before by clamping them and moving them and trying to keep it all straight, and he said it just took hours to get it right, and he was wondering what we had to help him out. So we took the opportunity. I said, Jesse, let's try some new tools. So I loaded up my little mule with the complete lineup of Seam Phantom 2.0 tools, light, deluxe, 92-inch guide, 46-inch guide, and some new tools, which they're not secrets. We've shown them at trade shows, but we don't currently sell them. I'm almost positive you've never seen them. A good chance for you to get a sneak peek about what we'll be coming out with next. And the next morning we headed out to Jesse's place on what turned out to be a perfect spring morning in the Pacific Northwest. Jesse has a unique setup in that he works outside all year long. Because of that, there's a lot of outside noise, a lot of people talking, so we'll probably turn off the sound and then come in with voiceover to explain what's going on. Anyway, let's go to Jesse's. It's morning. Here we are at Jesse's workshop, and we just unboxed a new 92-inch Ultra Guide. We're explaining how the track clamps work and demonstrating the soon-to-be available vacuum pods, which operate on compressed air. Here, Jesse is using the gauge blocks to align the Ultra Guide to a line on the stone that he transferred from his template. You can see that we have the long guide clamped on the ends with the track clamps and supported in the middle with 3 vacuum pods. This is definitely overkill, but after we demoed the vacuum pods, we just left them on for the grinding. This seam is approximately 6.5 feet long, and 1 or 2 vacuum pods would be sufficient to support the center of the guide. Here, he's creating the undercut with a tool we call the back grind beast. We've demoed it a couple times previously. He could push it much faster than he is right now, but this is his first time using it. It's significantly faster than the 2-inch cup wheel at creating a back grind, and leaves the surface much rougher, which is better for gluing. Now he's grinding the edge with the Seam Phantom 2.0 Deluxe, and he is using the 150 grit followed by the 300 grit turbo to remove all the edge chips. This is a technique to check the straightness of the edge. He's sliding the Seam Phantom down the track with the grinder off, and you can see where the pad touches, it will turn. This indicates that that is a high spot and needs more grinding. As a final check, he should use a level or some good straight edge to make sure everything's straight and chip free. This half is ready to go. The second half of the seam was completed off camera. We'll show you the completed result at the end of this video. Here we're unboxing a new 46-inch Ultra Guide, which is the one that comes with the Seam Phantom kit. This is for a shorter seam on an L section of counter. Again, Jesse's using the gauge blocks to align the guide, and you can actually see the line on the stone that he has transferred from his template. Here he is using 2 vacuum pods to clamp the guide, no track clamps. This is what we typically do in our shop. Again, the vacuum pods are powered by compressed air. Sorry about the glare, but it's a rare sunny spring morning in the Pacific Northwest. Here he's using the back grind beast again to create the undercut. And now switching to the Seam Phantom 2.0 Deluxe to grind the edge. You never need to readjust the Ultra Guide. This is the setup for the second half of the short seam. 1 vacuum pod and 1 track clamp on the opposite end. This is because the sink cutout doesn't leave enough room for the vacuum pod. So with these tools, you have several options for clamping. He repeats the same process, create an undercut for the glue, either using the back grind beast or a 2-inch cup wheel, which we've demoed many times before, followed by grinding the upper edge with the Seam Phantom and turbo pads. A final straightness check with your best level. Here is the big island seam in the home just before it gets clamped together, and the final result. I'm not sure it can get more perfect than that. We're back from Jesse's. I hope that helps clarify using the new Deluxe Seam Phantom 2.0 a little bit. And it also gives you a sneak peek of what we're working on. So at the end of the day, Jesse's final comment was he definitely thought it was worth an upgrade to the Deluxe from his old original Seam Phantom. The real time savings, though, in what we showed you is in this tool, which we're currently calling the back grind beast. If you're doing back grinds, you think the cup wheel's too slow, that is the tool that'll speed that up. But we've shown it a couple times. We're not really sure if people are interested or not. We use it all the time, just like we use the vacuum pods pretty much exclusively in our shop. Anyway, if you're interested in some of these new tools or you have a question, drop a comment below. The quickest way to find out when they are available is to subscribe to our social media and our YouTube channel, NSI Tools. Thanks for watching. Tight lines.